Okay, you're all set.
Thank you, Jen. This is Council President Stacy Kelly. We're ready to begin our council meeting of October 13th of 2020. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Director of Law Pignatello.
Here.
Director of Finance Petruniak.
Here.
Councilman at Large Elliott.
Here.
Councilwoman at Large Kelly.
Here.
Councilman at Large Koyu.
Here.
Ward 1 Councilman Curias.
Here.
Ward 2 Councilman Martin.
Here.
Ward 3 Councilman Snitsky.
Present.
Ward 4 Councilman Delaquilla.
Here.
Director of Public Service and Properties Johnson.
Here.
Building Commissioner Grassi.
Present.
And Engineer Collins.
Here.
Thank you. We'll now have the reading and disposal of the journal, minutes of the regular council meeting held on July 28th of 2020.
Madam President, having read the minutes of the regular council meeting of July 28, 2020, I find no errors or omissions, and I therefore move to accept the minutes as submitted.
Councilman Elliott, I second that.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Curiasis.
Yes.
Koyu.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
The minutes for the council meeting held on July 28th, 2020 have been approved. Moving on to the minutes of the special council meeting held on August 3rd of 2020.
Madam President, this is Councilman Curiasis. Having read the minutes of the special council meeting of August 3rd, 2020, I find no errors or omissions, and I therefore move to accept the minutes as submitted.
This is Councilman Elliott, I second that.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Curiasis.
Yes.
Koyu.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
The minutes for the special council meeting held on August 3rd, 2020 have been approved. There are no submissions for the consent agenda dated October 13th of 2020. Moving on to resolutions of commendation.
Madam President, this is Councilman Delaquilla.
Councilman Delaquilla, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I move that council suspends the rules under the charter and reads Resolution 24-2020 by title only for its first and final reading for the reason that it regards our Hall of Fame resident for the month of October, and we are now in the 13th day of October.
Madam President, this is Councilman Koyu. I second that.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Curiasis.
Yes.
Koyu.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Resolution number 24, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata and councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Koyu, Curiasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquilla. Resolution of commendation to Riley Perry, City of Seven Hills Hall of Fame resident of the month, October 2020.
Is there a further motion?
Yes, Madam President, Councilman Delaquilla again. I move that council approves the emergency clause in Section 3 of the resolution for the reason that, again, we are in the month of October already.
Madam President, this is Councilman Koyu. I second that.
Is there a further motion? I'm sorry, roll call.
Delaquilla,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Kuyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Is there a further motion?
Madam President, Councilman Delaquilla again. I move that council adopts resolution number 24-2020 as an emergency measure.
Madam President, this is Councilman Kuyu. I second that.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Kuyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Resolution number 24-2020 has been adopted. Moving on to reports of committees, planning, zoning, and economic development.
Yes, this is Tom Snitsky, Committee Chair of Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development. Our last committee meeting was on 9/29. Our next one will be on 11/24. I'm sorry, our next one will be later this month, 10/27. Minutes will be sent to the council clerk for the 9/29 meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Snitsky. Public Works.
Thank you, Madam President. Public Works last meeting was this evening, October 13th. Our next meeting will be November 10th, and any minutes are on file with the Clerk of Courts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Kuyu. Community Services.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Councilman Curriasis, Community Services. Last meeting was this evening, and the next meeting is November 10th. Minutes are pending. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Curriasis. Police and Safety.
Thank you, Madam President. Our last meeting was held today. The minutes are pending. The next meeting will be held on November 10th.
Thank you, Councilman Elliott. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Councilwoman. It's Councilman Martin. Parks and Rec met last on September 29th, and the minutes have been submitted, and our next meeting is October 27th.
Thank you, Councilman Martin. Rules, Ordinances, and Ethics.
Madam President, this is Councilman Delaquilla. The Rules Committee last met on September 29th, and those minutes have been filed with the council clerk. Our next meeting is scheduled for October the 27th.
Thank you, Councilman Delaquilla. This is Council President Kelly. Our Finance, Civil Service, and Personnel, our last meeting was September 29th. The minutes are on file with the clerk, and our next meeting is October 27th. Mayor, do we have any appointments or confirmations this evening?
This is Mayor Biassiata, none this evening.
Thank you, sir. Council Clerk, do we have any communications, petitions, and claims?
I do have one item. We have a very nice thank you card written from Mario Pistilli, addressed to the mayor, city council, elected and appointed officials, and supporting departments. I am deeply honored to have received a resolution of commendation from all of you, especially during the 2020 COVID-19 crisis, and to keep the city still running and to think of me during this time. This award was above and beyond whatever I could have expected. It was an honor and privilege to me to have been able to serve the city and its residents for 44 years. It is all the people and officials that work hard to make the city of Seven Hills great. My best to all and to the future of keeping Seven Hills a great city. Stay well, and many, many thanks to everybody for my award. Mario Pistilli. He was our service department employee that recently retired. That's all we have.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to give a brief comment. I did meet with Mario Pistilli yesterday, and he truly is a lovely person. Very, very nice. He was very surprised and thankful about receiving his resolution, so it was my privilege to give it to him. It really was nice. after 44 years of service. He still misses his job, he misses the people he works with, and he really had a love for what he did. So it's very nice to meet people like that. Okay, moving on to ordinances and resolutions. We'll now have the third reading of amended ordinance number 19-2020.
Madam President,
Councilman Snitsky.
I move that we suspend the rules under the charter and read amended ordinance number 19-2020 by title only for its third and final reading.
This is Councilman Elliott. I second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Kuyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 19, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata, councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Kuyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquilla. An ordinance to amend section 1143.08, parking of recreational vehicles, as contained in chapter 1143, exterior maintenance, of Title III local building provisions of Part 11 Building Code of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio.
Is there a further motion?
Madam President,
Councilman Snitsky.
I move that we pass amended ordinance number 19-2020.
Councilman Elliott. I second.
Roll call, please.
Delaquilla,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Kuyu,
Yes.
Martin,
No.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Amended ordinance number 19-2020 has passed. We'll now have the second reading of ordinance number 74-2020.
Ordinance number 74, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata and councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Kuyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquilla. An ordinance to amend Chapter 305, Traffic Control Map and File, Sections 305.01 and 305.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, by adding thereto a not a through street sign in front of 2871 Dorset Drive and a not a through street sign in front of 5735 Essex Drive.
Thank you. We'll now have the second reading of ordinance number 75-2020.
Ordinance number 75, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata, councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Kuyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquilla. An ordinance to amend section 537.15A2A, illegal distribution of cigarettes, other tobacco products, or alternate nicotine products, as contained in chapter 537, offenses against persons of Part 5 General Offenses Code of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills for the purpose of amending this section to include other substance capable of producing a vapor. Hello?
Hello, I'm sorry, I had my mute button on. We'll now have the second reading of ordinance number 76-2020.
Ordinance number 76, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata and councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Kuyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquilla. An ordinance to amend Chapter 537, offenses against persons, as contained in Part 5 General Offenses Code of the codified ordinances of the city of Seven Hills, Ohio, for the purpose of adding new section 537.151 entitled Possession, Use, Purchase, or receiving electronic cigarettes, cigarettes or other tobacco or alternative nicotine products prohibited by persons under 21 years of age.
Thank you. We'll now have the first reading of ordinance number 77-2020.
Madam Chairperson,
Councilman Martin.
I move that we suspend the rules of council and read ordinance number 77-2020 by title only for its first and final reading.
Second, Councilman Curriasis.
Roll call.
Delaquila,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Koyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Ordinance number 77, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata and councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Koyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquila. An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an annual professional service contract with Heather Hanchuk for the purpose of providing yoga classes at the City Seven Hills Recreation Complex for the remainder of year 2020 and declaring an emergency.
Is there a further motion?
Madam Chairperson,
Councilman Martin.
yes, I move that we approve the emergency clause in section 3 of the ordinance.
Councilman Curriasis, second.
Roll call, please.
Delaquila,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Koyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Is there a further motion?
Madam Chairperson, I move that we pass
Councilman
ordinance
Martin.
number 77. I move that we pass ordinance number 77-2020 as an emergency measure.
Second, Councilman Curriasis.
Roll call, please.
Delaquila,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Koyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes.
Ordinance number 77-2020 has passed. We'll now have the first reading of ordinance number 78-2020.
Ordinance number 78, 2020, introduced by Mayor Biassiata and councilpersons Kelly, Elliott, Koyu, Curriasis, Martin, Snitsky, and Delaquila. An ordinance to appropriate a sum not to exceed $591,268.79 for the lease to purchase of one Sutphen custom pumper with appurtenances for use by the City Seven Hills Fire Department. Said purchase to be made from Herb Fire Equipment with a 10-year lease agreement through Leasing 2 Incorporated.
Thank you. We'll now have the reports and communications from the Mayor/Safety Director.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Mayor Biassiata. First, I'd like to congratulate our October recipient of the Hall of Fame Resident of the Month, Riley Perry. I've had the opportunity to hear her singing on social media, and truly an extraordinary kid, and very, very deserving of this commendation. Today happens to be the 245th anniversary of the United States Navy. So for those that have served in the Navy, thank you for your service. Now, I'd like to talk about the upcoming November election, specifically issue 41. Over 4,100 absentee ballots are already in the hands of the residents of Seven Hills, and voting is underway. The Issue 41 is incredibly important to the future of the city in many regards. As we know, it's a 1.4 mil levy for our parks and recreation operations. As we also know, the bond levy that covered the construction of our rec center is expiring this year. As such, the net impact to our residents will be a lower tax, as the new levy is lower than the one that is coming off the books this year. Many people ask why an operations levy was not put on the books or put to the ballot earlier, because the need has existed for 20 years. I suspect that everyone realizes that our taxes are high, and at no point did we want to go to the people, even long before my involvement in the government of Seven Hills, with something that would be a net increase. I can only suspect that that was the case, and it's certainly understandable. Now, the need. It's two-pronged. And in case I tend to be long-winded, I'm going to start with the one that may be a little less obvious, and that is the need of our 6 city parks. The administration went through a walkthrough of all the parks, and perhaps we could do a better job of advertising it, and we put some of the preliminary findings on the city website. They're there in a nice PowerPoint, which I had hoped people would look at and disseminate. But I want to talk about what this is going to make possible in the immediate upcoming years, if passed. We can have ADA compliant restrooms, permanent restrooms in North Park, Kelvin Park, City Hall Park, and Valleywood. At Cricket, we could add picnic tables, picnic area, and modern playground equipment. At John Glenn, we can finish the walking paths, add benches, and a picnic area for somebody to sit and enjoy the park. We'd be able to add new concession stands to Valleywood and Kelvin. The majority of our bleachers at our ball fields need to be replaced. The scoreboard and the lights at our Valleywood Park need to be replaced. Our basketball and the tennis courts that exist today all need to be refurbished. In addition, Issue 41 would make possible adding pickleball to one or more of our city parks. And adding, I ask that we go on mute if you're not talking at the moment. I left off about adding pickleball, and we'd be able to add a splash pad. In addition, we've identified adding water to our parks for both our residents and our pets. Issue 41 would provide all this and more over the next 2 to 3 years. If passed and subsequently approved by council. And let's talk about what that impact is that's completely offset by the expiring levy. It works out on $100,000 assessed valuation to be $4.08 a month. So we can have refurbished parks and some new amenities over the next 2 to 3 years with the passage of Issue 41. Okay, next thing. It will provide protection to the general fund for some other big ticket items that are coming down the pike. We proactively did a report for 3 buildings. And this is what you do. You do your due diligence when you're figuring out capital planning and long-term needs. A company called QCI researched our service garage, the old Kelvin Park Community Center, and our current recreation and community centers to identify needs and what needs to be done at these facilities. I'll talk now specifically just to the rec center. Our rec and current community center is the largest investment the city has ever made. To date, we've invested over $20 million in the facility, and that's excluding salaries. That's building cost, lending cost, and the upgrades through 2014 from inception. A reasonable budget going forward to put aside to meet those capital needs and to protect that investment would be around $200,000 a year. We know we have a little over $200,000 and already identified needs. And over the next 5-10 years, there's going to be work done on the pools, and we're going to have several HVAC repairs as well as other mechanical equipment. The QCI report identified if we put aside a couple $100,000 a year, that's basically an insurance policy so that when capital repairs come up for the rec center in the years to come, we'll be able to keep the facility vibrant, safe, and competitive. Earlier today, I touched upon some of the fees that were lost from just a couple months of being shut down due to COVID. Imagine if the facility was not competitive or nice to attend anymore. So this is a relatively small amount of money to protect a major investment and, just as importantly, protect a major revenue stream. It's important to note that the operations at the rec center are pretty much on the day-to-day basis. They've been hovering around break even. Kudos to Director Berger and former Mayor Delacola for getting that ship right in the direction. But what they do not offset is the long-term maintenance and upkeep, which was identified at the very inception of this project 20 years ago. So we have an opportunity before us, without having a net impact to taxes, to correct something that has been wrong for many years. In addition, provide an immediate improvement to our parks. For those that may doubt that the majority of the funds are going to go to the parks, sorry you feel that way, but on the city website we've identified several improvements. It's my commitment to bring the council that the majority of the funds over this term of me being mayor will be invested in capital improvements for our parks. Once again, the majority of these funds for the remainder of my tenure will be for capital improvement to our parks. I said all this evening, and we haven't even touched upon the funds needed to address the old community park at Kelvin Community Center. This is what's needed, and it's needed for the long term, because the maintenance and upgrades are something that needs to be perpetual, and we need to continue to reinvest in parks and recreation. And just as important, we need to protect the general fund for those big items that are going to pop up, such as sewers, streets sometimes, and other things. And passage of Issue 41 will protect the general fund for major projects down the road that have yet to be identified, and will also ensure no matter who's in office, there's a protected revenue stream that can only be used for our parks and our recreation. I'm sorry that was a little long, but this topic is of that significance of importance. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to reports from the directors of departments and other officials. The Director of Finance, Rich Petruniak.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Finance Director Petruniak. I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Moving on to the Director of Law, Richard Pignatello.
I have no reports this evening.
Thank you, Director. Director of Public Service and Properties, Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Director Johnson here. I'd just like to piggyback on something that the mayor said earlier. As someone whose department is intimately familiar with the conditions of our parks, I can't emphasize enough how important it is that we upgrade our parks so that we have ADA restrooms in all of our parks. As a thought, recreation is clearly a quality of life issue, and I think that as the voters go out and consider this issue, consider that quality of life in a community increases your property values. So rather than thinking of it as a tax or a property tax, we should think of it as an investment in our communities. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Our City Engineer, Dan Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. Engineer Collins here. I have no formal report tonight. However, my full report is on file with the Mayor's office. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Our Building Commissioner, Grassi.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Building Commissioner Grassi. I have nothing new from the Building Department front lines tonight, but I would like to mention that the Planning Commission recommended approval of the Omni Vitality Sign Package Part 1, that's building sign and directional signage. The Zoning Board of Appeals will meet tomorrow, October 14th at 7 p.m. There are 5 variance requests on the agenda, one being the Erie Bank project. Thank you for your time. That completes my report.
Thank you, Building Commissioner. We'll now move on to miscellaneous comments from Council, beginning with Councilman Elliott.
I have nothing tonight, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Elliott. Councilman Snitsky, miscellaneous comments?
Yes, thank you very much. Just a quick kudo to Dan Collins on getting these water improvement projects. We did have a fairly heavy rain last night, as I recall, and I did not. And it seemed that the Donna Ray project is working. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Snitsky. Miscellaneous comments, Councilman Kyriazis.
I have nothing this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Miscellaneous comments, Councilman Coolio.
I have nothing this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Coolio. Miscellaneous comments, Councilman Delaquila.
Thank you, Madam President. I do have some remarks this evening. I think I first need to apologize, as the mayor did, for going a little long this evening. Mayor, I was pleased to hear you mention in committee meetings earlier this evening and in your miscellaneous remarks from the regular council meeting, the importance of issue 41 to protect our general fund, and describing how funding for one aspect of city operations impacts all other city finances. In my remarks this evening concerning issue 41, I will speak only for myself, no other elected official, nor for the city of Seven Hills. Several weeks ago, issue 41 was unanimously placed before the voters by council and the mayor to permit our residents to decide whether they wish to continue financially supporting and improving our parks and recreation center with separate non-general fund money, which is needed for other vital city operations and infrastructure, such as streets, sewers, safety, etc. We are now just 3 weeks away from that final vote, and absentee voters are casting their ballots as we speak. About 20 years ago, when the voters first approved construction of the recreation center and the necessary borrowing to build it, the elected officials back then chose not to put an operating level levy on the ballot. This was a monumental mistake, an error which other communities building recreation centers did not make. You may ask, why so? Well, because municipal recreation centers generally lose money, and the parent city must cover any shortfalls. The construction failures and financial losses over the early years of the operation of the rec center have been documented elsewhere, and they only made matters worse. When I was first elected mayor in 2011, the recreation center was actually losing about $500,000 annually. It required major repairs, such as the $3 million roof reconstruction. Our city parks also required significant cleaning and upgrades, as much as permitted by our limited funding. As mayor, I addressed those recreation center losses and made several major repairs and upgrades there, bringing the revenue and expenses practically to break even. It should be remembered the important role of Director Jen Berger in making many of the recreation center innovations that created these practically unprecedented results. Thank you, Director Berger. Now the levy to pay the construction borrowing is expiring, but the necessary expenses of repairing, maintaining, and operating our 20-year-old facility and our 6 parks still remain. A few years ago, our finance department put forth an analysis demonstrating that our total investment in the recreation center, soup to nuts, was approximately $20 million. By far our single largest municipal asset. As Director Johnson pointed out, we taxpayers are investors in that $20 million plus asset, and we must protect our investment. Issue 41 does exactly that without depleting our general fund. Most of our property taxes, somewhere around 85%, goes to other governmental agencies outside of Seven Hills, and only about 15% of our property taxes remain in Seven Hills. Instead, income taxes are actually the largest source of Seven Hills tax revenue. Seven Hills operates with all part-time elected officials managing a very tight operating budget, somewhere around $10 million each year. Truly a labor of love and commitment to our community given how little they are paid. For example, over the past 37 years, since 1983, the mayor's salary has remained at $14,000, and that's in a city of 12,000 residents. We residents truly get a lot for our tax dollars, for which other communities are paying significantly more. While the recreation center is our largest municipal investment, our homes are our largest and most important personal investment. We've invested more than money here. We choose to live in Seven Hills. We raise our families here. We hope to retire here. And we have invested our very lives in the great community of Seven Hills. I personally am in my 6th decade here and would not choose to live anywhere else. In that some 60 years or so, I have learned the importance of remaining competitive with neighboring communities and maintaining our lifestyle here. It's a friendly competition, but a competition nonetheless. We know that parks and recreation centers help to maintain our property values. Young families and professionals seeking a place to move and raise their families seek community amenities that enhance their lifestyle. They want to live in a community that maintains its infrastructure, covers its expenses, and offers reliable safety operations to protect their lives and property. This is how we remain competitive. Now we must decide how we fund critical municipal operations while also paying for necessary recreation center and park expenses. The prioritization of these choices in the hands of our voters in the form of Issue 41. Online, Issue 41 has been distorted by a pervasive cynicism and misinformation campaign. Despite the reasons for this opposition, the truth behind the curtain appears to be sour grapes from the last campaign in which the voters spoke overwhelmingly against these tactics. Social media simplifies the spreading of misinformation intended to polarize voters. The negative online give and take compounds the problem. Emotions are exploited and facts are distorted. The resulting anger makes people more likely to accept the misinformation and personal attacks presented to them. I ask, shouldn't those who constantly criticize be responsible to propose reasonable and workable alternatives to this funding problem? Although they are small in number, their negativity disseminated online threatens to damage our lifestyle reduce our property values, and relegate Seven Hills to second place in a world of highly competitive municipalities. Issue 41 presents a straightforward question of prioritization. Does Seven Hills pay for ongoing park and recreation expenses with general fund money, thereby reducing the amount available for other city expenses our residents deserve, like streets, sewers, police and fire, among others? Or does the city protect these funds by passing Issue 41? One thing's for certain, the expenses are there and must be paid one way or another. The 1.4 mil levy proposed by Issue 41 is more than offset by the expiring 1.65 recreation construction levy. This is about 15% less than the expiring levy. Issue 41 money can only be used for our 6 parks and our recreation center. And since it is capped to generate a fixed annual amount, the millage would actually go down in the event our property values go up. These are the undistorted facts, and the choice is now before the voters. Does Seven Hills pay for these expenses from the general fund, leaving less for other important city functions? Or do we choose to remain competitive with other communities and protect the general fund by passing Issue 41? Whatever your decision, it's important to know the true facts before you vote. I can say with that knowledge that I will be voting yes on Issue 41 this November 3rd. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilman Delaquila. Councilman Martin, any miscellaneous comments?
Madam President, Councilman Martin, Councilman Dell has outlined the issues very clearly. A home has a good foundation, and a home will last a long time if it has a good foundation, just like a community. And the 4 walls that hold up our community are quality fire services, and with paramedic and EMT services, a quality police force, and quality engineering and service department that provides quality roadways. And the 4th wall that holds this house up is a community amenity for parks and a recreation center. And so I too, as Councilman Dell has indicated, will support Issue 41, and I ask you to refer to my comments in the most recent newsletter that tells you why it is a good investment, as Councilman just indicated to you. Everyone else have a good evening.
Thank you, Councilman Martin. This is Council President Kelly. I just wanted to say in general, please exercise your right to vote. Please get out there and vote. Look at all the issues before you, and please go ahead. Please vote. I have no further comments. If there's no further comments from council or the administration, I would like to make a motion to adjourn our council meeting at 7:45 p.m.
Councilman Elliott, I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Delaquila,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Curriasis,
Yes.
Puyu,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Snitsky.
Yes. Good evening, everybody.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.